down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
What's going on, Savvy Investors? This is your friend, Steve Van Kallenberg, Oklahoma City. And right now, I'm live in a hotel, not live for you, but live for me. I'm in Syracuse, New York. Yep. And that's why I have not been on the mic for a while. I have been helping a friend move from Oklahoma City to Maine. And everyone's like, man, something's wrong with you. Why would you drive? Well, a couple of things. One, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and only thing I can do is listen to audiobooks. Yep, that's what I've been doing. Reading, I guess, by ears, thinking, and trying to write podcasts as I am driving 3 days, 10-hour days. But sometimes you got to do anything and everything for your friends because you got love for them and short of sin. You can do whatever you can to make an impact in someone's life. And people say that about me, about the podcast. One every day, man, that they can't even listen to it. You know, I think I tried. I'm a little behind, but you know, if I can make an impact in someone's life, and I think it's worth it. And so today I was like, man, what I gotta get back on the road. It's 8 a.m. I gotta get rolling. And then I was like, man, I haven't really sat down and wrote a podcast. And I was like, what's the best thing if I died on the road today? If I got railroaded by a semi, which is almost possible. I had a flat tire. And I thought about writing a podcast, my travels across the country, what I've learned. One thing I've learned for sure is, man, Oklahoma City is bomb. Indiana is bomb too. But I'm heading to Maine, and when I get to Maine, hopefully I'll have some more knowledge to drop for you what I've learned. I did learn a lot. I learned you need to be prepared, and you need to air up your tires anytime you travel. But I was thinking, I'm like, how could I bring impact quickly and in a hotel room? And what is one of the greatest things that has impacted me? What tool, what device, idea, what could I share to my peeps out there? And I was like, man, if you know me personally, I thought I wrote this podcast, I thought I aired this podcast, but I guess I didn't, about DISC profiling. And what you need to do when I coach someone, this is the first thing I do before we even get started in goals and aspirations. What do we want to do? Where do you want to take it? How many cribs? When you want to be financially free? Before we get into any of that stuff, and then I get into the background, can you handle it? Can you handle the intensity? Because when I coach somebody, it's like we're for real. We're going all in, 110%. So no matter what, if you meet me one time in a coaching session, I'm going to break off DISC. And so I look through my notes, and I'm like, man, I never really broke it off. So today, in the middle of nowhere, I'm going to break off DISC. And I think this is the contributing factor to my success. I know for sure for friends that I have helped with their business, when I teach them DISC, the light bulb goes off. Their life changes. They communicate with their wife a lot better, or their husband, or whatever it takes. I learned DISC. Check this out. This is kind of a cool little nugget from Zig Ziglar. And this is called personality profiling, whatever you want to call it. There's hundreds of them out. There's lions, there's examples. But what you should do, and if you want to go to the next level, I'm assuming if you follow my podcast at all, you have a desire to go to the next level. You're not listening to this podcast to be fluff it, duff it, just to say it's cool. I listen to the Savvy Radio Show. You're listening to the podcast because you want to go to the next level. How do you go to the next level? Master DISC. Go to Google. Yep, you know about it. DISC. And read and master personality profiling. It's a behavior assessment tool, and it's a theory. It was created by William Marston, which centers on 4 behavioral criterias, or 4 behavioral things. One is dominance. That's the D. I is for influence. S is for steady. And C is for compliance. So which one are you? That's usually what I go through. So let's go through them in order. Now I'm going to go over this redundantly because you've got to hammer this in. I use this skill to communicate with my wife. I use this skill back in the day when I was selling DJ services to brides. You've got to master this skill. I use this every day with the banking company, with buyers and sellers. I use this with realtors. I use this in my day-to-day, everyday conversation with people. I mirror them. A guy that I'm traveling with, he is very quiet, and he's a C guy, and so he doesn't really give any he doesn't really communicate, so I have to drag it out of him. He's an analytical guy, so when he's so analytical that he just analyzes things in his mind, but doesn't communicate them. So you're going to kind of learn a general idea, and what you need to know is what you are, and what your staff is, what your team is, what your realtor is, what your banker is, what your the people around you, so you can communicate to them better. All right, so DISC. We go with D for David. I call it David. It's dominance. All right, so that's someone that's direct, they're results oriented, they're firm, they're strong willed, they're forceful. Some people call them a lion. Some people call them a type A. Some people call me a D. Now, you can change and morph into any personality you want over time. And I think I was born a C, and like an analytical guy, but then I became a DJ, which is an influential person, which everybody wants to be an I. That's where people buy clothes, they want to look good. Not everybody, but majority of people want to be an I. That's the party person. That's the person that enters the room. And then there's the S, which is steadiness, which is in my world the support. And the C, which is the analytical. So I'm going to break them down and give you some personality profiles that you can kind of general idea. But here's an I. An Irene is what I call it. An influential. They're outgoing. They're enthusiastic. They're optimistic. They're high-spirited. They're lively. They walk into the room, bang, bang. They're an I. Now, back when I was a concert promoter, people thought I was an I. I would go into a club, open up my bag, start pulling out flyers, start pulling out some goodies, and people are like, outgoing. No, my motive was to get people to come to the event, but I was acting as influential. So you can act any way you want to act, but you got to get to the core. What is your personality? Now, my wife, she's in high I. So I have to communicate high I way. And she may, and this may be for a lot of ladies, but she wants to communicate and express everything that went on and how it affected her and how people perceived her. So I have to kind of just listen. Now, as a D is just real short. Get to the point, get it over with, move on. And they're the guy that will run you over, back up, and run you back over. Now, most entrepreneurs in society are a D. So it's just what it is. But if you are a S, okay, and that's a support person, a steady person, you're even-tempered, you're accommodating, you're patient, you're humble, you're tactful. So you got the DIS, dominance, I, influential, S for support, steadiness. And then on the C side, consciousness, you're analytical, you're reserved, you're precise, you're private, and you're systematic. Okay, so back in the day, when I started mastering DISC, and I mean, it's fun. You got to find out what's your mom, what's your dad, the person. I mean, I can figure you out a DISC, your dominant personality profile within minutes, just looking at you, within seconds, within hearing you. I find out what your priorities are, and then I mirror you. If you're in sales or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. I want to communicate in your level. Now, years ago, I realized I didn't like C's. Like, I'm a big picture guy. Hey, we're going to build a building. And the C guy would be like, well, where are you going to get the money? Don't worry about the money. I'll get the money, right? But then I realized I learned to love C's over time because they help me put it on paper. They help me keep it on task. They give me the projections. Can I do it? They're amazed that I can do it, but I can't do it without. If you want a successful team, I'm talking about a domination team, build wealth, run your real estate empire, you need DISC people. So you might be a D. And if you're an outgoing guy or you're an analytical surgeon, let's say, you might need a D to run your business, or you outsource those areas to Ds. For example, if you have a sales business, you might outsource your sales to an influential person, an high I. So that's just the basics of DISC. I definitely recommend that you get down and dirty, Google it up, and figure out how to do it, how to communicate it, how to understand it, how to recognize it, and then you will live life better. Man, when I figured out how I figured out how to communicate with my wife. See, high I people, right? They're outgoing. They're worried about what people think of them. That they change their Facebook page all the time, or they're all over a Facebook page, and they get offended if you say something about maybe their clothes or something. Well, the point behind that is, in a high I, is that if they fail, it crushes them. Okay. Now, in a D, if I fail, I'm like, that's just feedback, man. You heard that podcast a while back. That's just feedback. That just keeps me rolling. Now I won't do that ever again. So if you learn to communicate in their language or their profile, you will be way ahead of everybody else. You'll actually probably get the contract before someone else. So let me give you some examples on how to use this with real estate and purchasing a property. So the first thing you need to do when you get on a property, you got to figure out who am I dealing with? What's the seller like? What's their motivation? That's pretty basic, right? Why they're selling. Someone passed away, or they're moving, or they can't afford it, or 20 other reasons. Those are all important information that you need to know. But how do you negotiate? How can you grind it out and get that property at a deal? And I believe it's through DISC. And so, like, if you're trying to negotiate with me, okay, it's like dumb, because you got to get right to the point. I don't want to hear about something's wrong with the condenser, or, it's this, that. I already know all that jazz because I'm a D. But you just need to negotiate quickly with me, maybe present the facts. Maybe truly I don't know about the condenser, or with pictures, and get the deal done. Now, with an I, you walk through the property and you like, did you live here? Yeah, this is my mom's house. Oh, and so then you realize that they're influential, right? They're outgoing. They want to know, what are you going to do with the property? Are you going to tear it down? Are you going to, so you can say, hey, I'm going to preserve this to keep, maintain it, to make it look good. I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to keep it preserved as a wonderful home for the next family. And so you start selling them a story of what you're going to do to it, and it makes them feel good. If it wasn't for them, I couldn't get the property. And so since you're working on their personality, now you got to figure that out when you walk into the room. What do they look like? Are they well kept? Do they communicate well? Why are they selling? Now, if it's a support, for example, if they're a PR, a probate representative, a personal representative, right? I think so, whatever it's called, PR for a probate, they're just a support staff. They were administered. They were contacted to lead this trust. And so they're just support. They just want to get the job done. And they just want to maybe go alongside you. You may lead them as the leader, but they are the seller of the property. But you can say, hey, we can do this together. We can make this work. And that's how you communicate to that support person. Say, hey, we're going to get this done. Let's do this together as a team. That's the words that you want to use with them. Now, I could break all this down. If you guys like this, I can go even deeper. But I know that successful podcasts are no more than 20 minutes, and I don't want to drag it on too long. And so I'll finish up with the C. So how do you get a deal from a C? Now, again, I brush heads with C's, bump heads with C's, brush heads. I guess you could say that, but I bump heads with C's because I'm broad strokes. They want details. I don't want to give details. I do, but I don't. I just think giving details just takes too long. It's not, maybe I'm insensitive, but the C's, they got to have all the details. They want to know the why behind, why'd you take that way to this location? Well, I love negotiating with the C's, and now I've learned to love C's over time. But the C's, it's all black and white. That's right. So with the I's, it's big picture, floral. This is what's flowers. This is what we're going to do. S's is support. D's direct. With the C's, it's black and white. So, sir, the heat and air system it needs to be replaced. It's $5,000. The roof, has a life left of 2 years. It's going to cost me $2,000 to replace it, fix it. And so they're operating off of details, operating off of a spreadsheet. So that's a way that you can win that purchase by modeling their personality. All right. So that's it. This is Steve Van Kallenberg. This is DISC. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully it helps you. I would like some comments. If you do like it, if you want me to dig even deeper, I'll break it off for you.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.